Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ruby, this is Ruby Red, and this is my first knitting vlog. That's right. Normally videos on this channel are about books, but this one is about yarn. I recently finished crocheting this cardigan. I'll link the pattern down below. It was a free pattern, and I'm really pleased that I had so much fun doing it, and I have been working on it for months, and I only just finished it, and I really think I only finished it as soon as I did because I recently joined a knitting group, sort of by accident. It just so happens that a shift I have working at the library coincides with the same day that the library's knitting group meets, and the person who had been running the knitting group on her own was really excited to have me help her do so. So every week or every other week I get to spend an hour or two knitting with a group of women at work, which is amazing. Anyway, getting to hang out with those women and see what they're working on, and it's just been such an amazing learning experience. Every time I'm there, I'm learning something as they're like troubleshooting, or someone just learned a new technique and we're sharing it, and it's just been so fun. So I wanted to knit a sweater, and I thought I would document the process because like it's gonna be my first knit garment. I have knit scarves and hats, many hats before. I have done some like cabling samples in college, just like for fun, just trying stuff out, but I've never made like a full garment. So I'm really excited. I picked the step-by-step pattern by Handmade by Florence, and I will link the video down below, and from there you'll be able to find the PDF pattern if you want it. Basically, I picked this because it's basic, simple, and seems like it uses like all the techniques that I see in a lot of other sweater constructions that are top down, which is also what I think my preference is going to be versus knitting flat and then sewing everything together. Basically, I've been doing so much thinking about knitting, and I'm so excited to be finally about to start knitting. And I actually have already started knitting before I was able to get my act together and film this. Anyway, I will link the pattern video below, and I'm really glad to have that video to have an ability to watch each step in slow motion of the pattern so that I can learn. That's a great way for me to learn new yarn techniques, is by slowing down the YouTube video. So let's talk goodies. Okay, hi, it's my first time filming in my new car, so sorry the setup is not ideal. I don't have a great place to prop this actually. Anyway, here I am coming to you live in the sun in my brand new used RAV4 Prime. Super hyped about it. Not what we're talking about. We're talking about packages. I got my yarn. This is yarn. This is knitting needles. So we're gonna try to do an unboxing. I'm so excited, and I'm not allowed to play with any of this until I finished the final project, the final crochet project. I just want to be documenting it, you know? I will start knitting it probably next week. It's Halloween right now. Happy Halloween. Okay, we made it home. Who's going first? Needles are first. Here's what I got as far as needles. Okay, hello. These are my interchangeable needle tips. I got a size 7 and a size 9 as my pattern requested of me. I don't know what the color name of this one is called, but it's the like blue, purple, green one. They have all different colors. These were on sale. That's why I picked them. And then I got two different cables. So I got a 24-inch and a 40-inch. I don't know, like the pattern requested needle lengths, cable lengths was like not options that I was seeing, so I just got like a short and a long, and I got them in like a pinky purple just to kind of match my needles. And the yarn. Okay, I want to reiterate to myself that I'm not starting this project until I finish my crochet project. Okay, oh my god. Hello. It's so beautiful. I'm so happy. So this is the Cascade 220 yarn. It's 100% wool, Peruvian Highland wool, hand wash cold, lay flat to dry, duh. And this is an Aran weight, which is what the pattern wanted, and it's, the color is called like Razzleberry or something silly like that. Yeah, Razzleberry Heather. So the heather is what I really wanted for this. This is my yarn. I'm so excited. And I did put some needles on a cable. This is what they look like, all hooked up. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I want to start right now, but I'm forbidden. The way that the needles match, so cute. I'm literally obsessed. This is the yarn. So I'm doing a solid version. The sweater does have a stripes option, but I'm opting for a solid. And I think depending on how it goes, I might try to do some duplicate stitch embellishments like around the collar and the cuffs at the end, just for cuteness. But we're so far from that, you know? I'd like to talk to you about my swatch.
In the shoulder section. I think that's probably going to be easiest. So this one was a bit more tricky to figure out in terms of what I've got to do next and where I am in the pattern. So I've got to do a full repeat again, ending on the second pattern row, and then I do the shaping as it was. Okay, more straightforward than I realised. So
really important to swatch when you're knitting a garment so that the garment fits you, okay? And here's my swatch for, I'll hold it closer so you can see all the colors. This is my swatch for the sweater. I was working on this while watching the election results roll in. So a little bit tense, a little bit fraught, but it is what it is. I initially was, here's a fun knitting fact. Sorry if you're somebody who knows how to knit and you don't want to hear all this. I am learning and I'm interested, and so I want to talk about it. When you're knitting something in the round on circular needles instead of knitting it flat, you need to swatch in the round as well. And so that's what I did. It's just because to make stockinette stitch, which is what you call this, if you're knitting flat, you knit one row and then you turn to the back and you purl the row and then you flip back over and you knit, because those are opposite sides of the same stitch. But when you're going in the round, you're always working on the same side of the work, so you're just knitting the whole time. So your tension is different for your knits and your purls typically, or you know, it can be. So that's why you want to swatch in the same way you're going to be knitting. Okay, so I had learned from my knitting friends a new way to swatch in the round, where you knit your row and then you pull the amount of yarn that it's going to take you to knit another row, and you just slide it to the other end of the needle and you keep knitting, and then that's when you end up with like these little twisty bits at the end, because you just keep knitting like this. And you never have to break the yarn. But I was sort of thinking that my tension might be off because of that technique, because I'm not super experienced, and I just felt like it was making my tension weird to have to hold that yarn. So then I did half my swatch like that, and then I did the other half the more typical way that you do it in the round, where you just basically float the yarn back to the other side along the back and you keep knitting. And then the problem with that is that usually the floats, which are these cut edges, I did cut it to block it because they were a bit tight for me to be able to block it well. So you can't then like easily frog this and use the yarn again because you've cut every single row. That's the main downside. But I met Gage with this, so we were able to progress, and I did something so goofy. I reached the end of my final row on this swatch and I was like, great, I'm done. And I cut the yarn, and it was still on the needles. And I was like, wait, this is not like crochet where you just pull the last loop through, pull the thread through the loop and you're done. You have to cast off, which is basically knitting another row, but you knit it in a way where it comes off the needle. so I didn't have enough yarn left to do that from what I had cut, foolishly. But I had, just a few days before this, YouTube recommended a 6-hour long knitting video to me. It was, I'm gonna link it down below. I think the creator's name is Retro Claude, and it was a compilation of, I guess, like a whole year of her stash busting projects, where every month she would just try to like use up more yarn from her stash instead of buying more yarn. And I really loved watching it. But one technique that she uses in one of her projects is really cool, and you can only do this with wool. I don't think you can do it with an acrylic yarn, and probably you couldn't do it with a superwash either. You just like fray up the end of the yarn that you had been knitting with, and then you can kind of untwist it and split it in half basically, and rip off half of the ply. Like when you untwist it, you can start to see the ply separating, and you sort of just, yeah, you just thin it out, and you do that to the end of the yarn that you had been working with and the end of your new yarn, and then you sort of just like twist the two like thinned out ends together, and then you put it in your hand and you sort of wet it a little bit, and then that basically vigorously, okay, you basically end up felting the two ends together, and like you can yank on it like kind of good and it doesn't budge, and it looks not completely seamless, but it's enough so that you wouldn't see it in the work, I think. So I'm really excited about that technique for joining yarns. I think it's great for doing like striped color work, which is what she was using it for, but I also just think it's a great way to just join your next ball of yarn when you're knitting something big. So got to learn, love that. So that's my swatch. And then last night I finally started knitting. Yay! Sorry, here's my one cake of yarn that I've wound so far, and here is my collar for the sweater. The way that the construction of this sweater works is I'm gonna do a folded collar, so you knit your collar in rib, which is stretchy, twice as long as you want it to be, and then you fold it in half and you knit the ends down, and then you start knitting like the shoulders. So you just have like a thick, cozy, stretchy neck. Yeah, and I did have to put this onto my longer cable. I started with it on a shorter cable, but I didn't have enough. It was stretching so far, so I just thought it would be easier to do this and do the thing where you pull the cable out. They call this the magic loop. Everything is the magic whatever in knitting and crochet, I feel like. So yeah. Anyway, I guess that's it. I did also already, I dropped a stitch, just as I was like holding them. It slipped off the needle, and I was able to go in with my crochet hook and pick it back up. So that was fun to practice. And yeah, I'm really excited about my knitting project, and I want to take you with me. I want to document it, like I said. So cheers to the knitting vlog.
Get the artisan on and cover it.
I'm just decorating all the floor parts. So you've done all this, and you're here. Yeah. We're nearly there. Oh, God's sake, where we go to the pub? That's like this little like bit. Is that bit? Yeah.
Bakers, you have 10 minutes remaining.
Oh, okay.
Time for your bread week showstopper challenge.
The judges would love you to make a bread cornucopia display.
Or corn of plenty, as it's widely known.
Your corn must be beautifully shaped.
Good evening, little knitting check-in. I've been knitting quite a bit today. It's Saturday. Saturday the 9th or something. I've made some good progress on my collar. I just want to say, like, I've been having, just because of how like small the project is at this time, I've been having fun being able to take it around, like, and just sort of pull it out. Like I'm like a pull it out knitter now. I just like, I pull out my project when I just like have some downtime. So last night, me and Connor's mom and stepdad were all just like hanging out and chit-chatting, and like I had my project, so I like took it out to like just like casually do a little knitting while we're chatting. And then today I was doing a bit of knitting in the car as we were driving around to and fro, hanging out with them and having a lovely day. And now I'm watching Bake Off, the new season of Bake Off. I've made it to bread week, and I'm working on still doing the ribbing of the collar. And I keep thinking like I might be twisting my stitches or something because of how slanted it's coming out. But I keep looking up like what are my stitches supposed to be doing, and they're doing it, so it's all fine. But like here, it's just, I'm just so interested in knitting. Wow. So this row of pearls is gonna be the top of the collar, so it's gonna fold over right where the pearls are and get sewn down. So that's the length of the actual collar. I don't know, that's the knitting update. I have, I think, like 4.5 more rows before it's time for me to start the next part. I'm gonna start placing my markers for the yoke, but let the knitting continue.
They're gonna be mushy. They won't be mushy.
I like mushy pea.
You're the reason we had that pilgrims in the first place. So what happened to the Shumash?
About imprisonment, forced labor, herded like animals into a mission full of bad European diseases.
Boy, Cultural Partnership Center really didn't stress any of that stuff.
Not even a diorama. And it gets better. The few Shumash who tried to rebel were hanged. And
All right, coming to you from November 16th, and here's the, oh god, update. I need a little something to hold my needle tips. Here's the update. This is the back, and as you can see, like on the front, there's still like no knitting going on, and then in the back I have a bunch of rows. So that's the German short rows. So basically I've just been knitting back and forth like around the back to like about here, and then going back and coming to, you know, here on the other side, and just doing that a few times, so that the collar comes down in the front when I start just like going around in circles, which I was about to start to do, but there's an error in the pattern. And I actually remember seeing someone say this when I was looking at other people's yarn choices and like projects in Ravelry. So I'm having to go backwards kind of a lot, because the way that you work the raglan increases in this pattern is that every other row you do the increases, and then the next row you don't do. And so I just finished row 4 of my neck shaping short rows for the second time. You do rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, and then continue the raglan increases, but that doesn't get you back to the back of round, which is where you need to start for round 1. So note that if you're ever going to try this pattern, once you're done with the short rows, you need to knit back to the back of the round, because now I'm having to like knit to tink is what I believe they call it. You knit backwards. I don't know if that's a real thing, or if it's just yeah. So anyway, I'm having to just like undo a whole bunch of work. It's very annoying, but I just wanted to document it. it was a challenge for me tonight. Actually, it was such a challenge for me to learn this, and it came at a great time because I was having a bad night. I was not feeling good emotionally. Sorry that Connor has to be chasing the dog around the house at all times.
I wish you saw it. He came in from the house and he just threw his toy onto the couch.
Excuses. Anyway, and I found that having to learn these, like, make one right, make one left, and the same in the pearl and knit version, like, it was extremely fiddly. I just had to really pay attention. I had to watch the video a bunch of times to make sure I remembered which was which and how to do the turns. And anyway, that nitty-gritty kind of repetitive but focused task really helped me feel a sense of calm. So I want to thank knitting for me feeling calm, and now I'm gonna put Buffy back on and figure out if I've added a stitch as I was undoing this. I don't think I did.
Here's what I am thinking. Sunset flight on my private plane, dinner at Brooms, I'll have you home by midnight. Or maybe in the morning.
What is this?
This is what we talked about. This is you getting to know the real me.
Tommy, so you don't misunderstand. CNRI just lost his
Okay, I don't know what the lighting is gonna be doing for you. I'm filming in candlelight right now. Our power is out and it's all fine. It's November 24th. We just got back from a weekend with my family. One of my cousins got married, so we went down for the wedding, and it was a wonderful time, and I did a lot of knitting. Like Friday night, we got there and we were just hanging out my mom was making us dinner, and then afterwards we were just sitting around chatting for a long time, and I was knitting like the whole time. And I didn't really mess anything up, but then today in the car on the way back home I was knitting, and I did end up doing almost a whole row of no increases when it was supposed to be increases, that row. And I thought about just letting it slide, but then I said no. So I did go back and undo most of that row and do my increases, and that was all going great. And I was proud of myself for like knitting backwards basically to get back to where I started. And I really love how the sweater's coming out. I love the color. Today I'm deciding I'm a little bit concerned about my tension, because I just feel like my tension has gotten much looser since I was doing my swatch. So it's possible the sweater's gonna be like more oversized than I wanted. I'm not actively really tightening my tension either. I'm just like trying to like keep an eye on it and not get any more loose. But then once the power went out and I was just knitting by candlelight, I did do a round of straight knitting, and now I have to do an increase row again, and I can see that I dropped some stitches like early on in the previous row when it was like extremely dark while I was knitting. So yeah, gonna have to do something about that. I'm just gonna get a crochet hook and fix it, but I don't know if I want to try and do it by candlelight. I mean, I have a flashlight that was gonna throw enough light for me to figure that out. So yeah, but like for now, this is what we have. And this is the front. It looks like a hat, kind of. But what's really fun is this is my first skein of yarn. This is how big they are out of the box. So that's fun. I'm excited about that, just to see. It's fun to see such a visual amount of progress, you know. Anyway, I love knitting, and I think really like sometime in all the like car knitting that I did, like on her way to the wedding I was knitting, and then on our way back here, like I feel like I really got into the swing of it where I feel like I'm getting faster. So that's fun. Anyway, now I've got my hook. I'm gonna try to pick up some stitches, and yeah, I can't believe how fast this is going. I'm so excited. I'm halfway now officially. That row was my halfway point of the total number of increase rows I need to do before I split for the sleeves, which I can't wait for. Okay, excuse me, I am basically sitting on my dog. This was the easiest place to prop my phone up. It's November 28th or 29th. It's the day after Thanksgiving. Happy Black Friday. Last night I reached the end of my first ball of yarn. So this is what we have. Let's see, where's the front? Is this the back? Okay, here's what I have. I feel really good about it. I'm really excited and ready to start my next ball. I can't believe I made it here already. So I just wanted to update that because yeah, there have been no other mistakes since I missed that one increase row and dropped some stitches knitting in the dark, but like we're recovering from that. And I can't wait to wear it. Obviously I'm so far from being able to wear it, but I really am still so excited about this project. And like I'm already excited. Ooh, I'm already excited about my next knitting project. Sorry, construction zone. Remember, I'm in a construction zone now all the time. Yeah, that's the update. I don't know if today I have my knitting group and I don't know if I'm going to continue with this and attach my second ball or if I'm going to work on a crochet project that I already have going. So we'll see, but yay. Okay.
It looks great. I love the shoulders.
I have like many rows still. You can see before I'm ready to connect the underarms, but how cute is this? I'm so excited. I will say the neck, it could be looser, but I think once it has some weight on it, it'll be a little bit looser / blocking. But like, it looks so good. And the increases are still so neat. My little 2 shoulder sides, you can see. I'm having such a great time learning to knit sweaters. Wow. And I have just attached this yarn ball.
It was like so corny and stupid, but it was so good. And we only watched it because Jake talked to his dad yesterday, and his dad said that he watched it the night before and was like, and he loved it. I was like, yeah, sure, let's check it out. And it was actually so good.
We watched The Grinch.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, big sweater updates. I reached the point in my pattern where it was time to separate the sleeves, which I had been really looking forward to. And also at that point, there's a number is given in the pattern for like, this is how many stitches you should have. And so I counted them and there was 1 extra stitch on the front panel because the increase rows happen on either side of the shoulders on the front and the back. So there's like the front, the 2 shoulders, and then the back. And I had 1 more stitch on the front than on the back. And I really thought about leaving it because I was like, on the front, it's not like one sleeve is going to be wider than the other. You know, it's just that the front will be 1 stitch wider than the back, but it'll still be symmetrical in this way. But then I decided to just actually not let there be an extra stitch. And I knit 2 together like right in the armpit. And you really can't see it. So I'm glad I did that because I think it was definitely the right call. So that means that I finished the increases. It was time to put some of my stitches onto scrap yarn that were going to be the sleeve stitches and then continue knitting them round until it reaches the length that I want. And that's like where the pattern is like just keep going until you have 6 to 8 centimeters from where you want the sweater to be, because that 6 to 8 centimeters is going to be how much ribbing you do at the bottom. So I was knitting on this a lot while we were away, just visiting the in-laws. So now I'm ready to start a new ball of yarn, my third. So I'll now show it to you. I did use like some twine that was just at the house for the sleeves, and then because I didn't have scrap yarn, and then today when we got home I went in and I used different scrap yarn to put the sleeves on. Okay, here it is. Look, I mean, that's the top of a sweater. These are the sleeves. Sleeve, sleeve. This is where I go in. And I did actually just, I'm gonna sort of pull the needles out. I know. I put in a lifeline, they call it. I don't actually know if that's all that they call it. I'm just gonna put this on. I put in this piece of yarn, it's tied, so it goes all the way around the waist of this. So I'm just going to see what it looks like when it's on. This is so scary and also fun. And I'm gonna have to get up and look in a mirror or something because I can't see what it looks like right now. Hold on. All right, I adjusted it so that it's like on, and this is where we're at with the length. There's a lot of ease here, which is good. It means I'll be able to wear this over something. I mean, obviously I am wearing a shirt under it, but I was sort of between sizes when I was looking at the size options, and I opted to go slightly higher because of how my gauge came out. I'm sure I talked about that. Maybe I didn't, maybe I did. But yeah, I'm so happy with how it looks. I'm so glad I put that line in so that I could try it on. Wow. So yeah, I'm gonna get the needles back in and then start another ball of yarn. Maybe, do I have my tape measure here? Maybe I'd like to see how long I want it. Maybe from, just like from the armpit. Like, I feel like I want it to be, I don't know. I think probably I'm just gonna have to try it on again later because I feel like I'm gonna want to see how it like is draping before I decide if I'm gonna want it to be like a little bit shorter or longer. Just like I'm gonna have to decide with the sleeves if I want them to actually hit me here or if I want them to be a little bit shorter. A little bit of like a longer than a 3/4, but I've just been liking things that leave a little bit more of my wrist free. So anyway, here's the update on my sweater. I'm so happy, and I did have an extra stitch somewhere, but I dealt with it and no one will ever know. Hi. I'm kind of like, when did we last spoke? Have I vlogged at all about this sweater since Christmas? Here's where we're at. Maybe I can insert also some pictures of when I tried it on. I tried it on when we were in Connecticut to see sort of where it was hitting and where I wanted it to hit, and just to think about the length of sweater that I wanted. I did so much knitting over Christmas though. I had this in the basket with me. We were visiting Connor's family and then we were visiting my family, and pretty much wherever we went, I just had this next to me and I was just knitting, and it was honestly a phenomenal, I loved it. I love knitting in social settings because it gives you something to do with your hands. It sort of helps me be a more engaged listener also because because I'm doing the knitting, that, you know, just quiets my own mind so that I'm more open to like what other people are saying. I just felt like I was really immersed in the conversations or the silence or the sound of the crackling fireplace or whatever. So love knitting. It's my new favorite thing. I can't wait. I'm already buying yarn or planning to buy yarn for potentially my next 2 projects, which is insane, but it's what I'm doing. And it's because there's a sale. Okay. I love sweaters, and I actually love doing loads and loads of stockinette. What I'm sick of right now is the ribbing. So I tried it on Connecticut and I thought I need a little bit more length. So I did a bit more length, but not too much. So then I started doing the ribbing. Here she is. Can you see that? So I started doing the ribbing, and then I was just like, okay, like, is this the end of the ribbing? Let's see. So I tried it on again, and that's what this line is in here. That was my safety line for trying it on again, and it just was too short. So I think I'm gonna almost double the amount of ribbing on the bottom, which is more in line with what the pattern calls for as the bottom. And then we're just gonna have to see what it blocks out to. And I might try and like have some goal measurements. Like I might like when I block it, I'm gonna also use a ruler to be like, I want to really get it this long, or I want it to not be longer than whatever. So yeah, I have a bit more knitting to do, and I don't like doing this ribbing, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. The knit, that was fun. The stockinette, I mean, was good. I'm just really into knitting, and I can't wait to finish my sweater. And I'm nervous about starting the sleeves because I'm like, do I need to get some double pointed needles? Will I need DPNs for the sleeves? I don't know. Okay, I know it's dark in here, but I've decided this is the length. I took the sweater off the needles and tried it on again. I have about double the ribbing, and the cinch is much better. Like it grips it grips better, so it feels a lot less loose. So that's good. I'm still seeing a lot of weird like lines come out in the top here that hopefully will block out. I mean, it's just like tension stuff, I think. I don't know, like that. I don't really love that, but we'll see. One person did kind of complain that the larger sizes of the sweater pattern do have like too much bulk here. I don't really know what you're supposed to do about that, but here's my step-by-step sweater. I'm gonna put it back on the needles probably tomorrow and bind off the hem, and then I'll start on the sleeves, which I'm actually so excited to start on the sleeves because I was getting so sick of doing the 1x1 rib. I just like, after being on such a roll with the body, then to be doing the ribbing, I was like, okay, like at least can we do a 2x2 maybe? So but like when I'm doing the wrists cuffs, at least it'll be smaller around, you know. Anyway, okay, thanks. That's my sweater update.
Looks like I won.
Actually, Felicity, I was hoping that I could get.
Yeah, I'm not braced on it
I was
because
worked up on adrenaline last night, and I didn't exactly put my best foot forward. I was hoping you'd give me the opportunity to do that now.
How about you start with Ken Williams? Did he also get to enjoy your adrenaline last night?
No, he returned the money that he stole just in time to put his son to bed. Like I said, Felicity, just a warning.
long time no see. It's actually so hilarious. I just did this whole update and I know that like the lighting is bad and there's maybe like a lot of background noise, but I really needed to get some stuff, you know, out in the open between us. Anyway, and then I finished what I had to say, and I looked at the footage and I had the wrong camera on my phone. So I just recorded myself talking, but the video is just like a close-up of my computer screen because my phone is propped up against the back of my laptop right now. So sorry about the lighting and if I'm seeming annoyed and the background noise, because I don't have time to wait for a moment when all is well and quiet, because I don't, because if I did, I would have done it already. Do you know what I mean? So here's where we're at with the sweater. That's right, that's a sleeve. I'm pretty sure that I showed you binding off the hem, and this is not a good way to view it, but it looks really good. I'm really happy with it. And then I moved on to the sleeve, and I was initially doing the sleeve with my with my cable, but it was like just exactly the circumference of all the stitches I had. Like, it was tight, and I knew that I was gonna have to do some decreases for the sleeve, not a ton, but still enough that I was like, it's not gonna work for the whole sleeve. And I didn't want to do the magic loop technique that you can do. I'm gonna get some double pointed needles, which are these. It's a set of actually 5. I'm only using 4 for this just because it's easier to manage for me right now. And it works the same as the circular needles, but you sort of break your stitches up into smaller chunks so that you don't lose like maneuverability. Another option which I really considered is shorties, which, because I have interchangeable needles and cables, they make short versions of the needle part so that it just makes your overall circumference, like from needle point to needle point, like just smaller because you have less needle on the same amount of cable. Is this making sense? Anyway, I didn't get those. I got the DPNs because that's what I did. I sort of felt like that, whatever. It's what I did. Because with DPNs, you can go really small. Like even with the shorties, like there's only so much you can do. So whatever. So I got the DPNs, and then I didn't want to just start in on the sweater with those because I've never used them before, and I've really put so much work, so much love and care into the sweater. So I practiced on a scarf that I've been thinking about for a while, a tubular scarf that I want to make, and I don't have a pattern for it. I'm just sort of making it up. I just have the idea and I have the yarn, and I think I have the skills to do it. So I started that, and it took me like probably 15 tries to get a cast on and like a join in the round, and then like make it more than like 2 or 3 rows before like a needle falling out or like just ripping holes or messing up or something like going so wrong, or my tension was so hard to manage. And so I'm really glad that I practiced on the scarf instead of trying to learn all of that on this sweater that is now precious to me. So that was a good idea, and I eventually did feel like I was getting the hang of it enough to then put the needles onto the sweater, which I did. And I did already make a mistake, sort of. I'm gonna blame the pattern, just the way that it's written. Anyway, it's fine. I've made careful notes about what I did differently than the pattern so that at least the sleeves will be the same, even if they're not like true to the pattern. I don't really think it's gonna cause any problems at all. It's totally fine. So we're progressing. I'm eager for this to be done just because I want to be wearing it. And I get Sleeve Island, you know, like you get through the bulk of the body of stockinette, which I found to be very enjoyable and meditative, and then it's like, oh, now you have to do the sleeves, and there's 2, you know. So yeah, I can see it's daunting to have to do something also like kind of now a lot of like smaller stuff when you've just been doing tons of like big work. I don't know. I'm acting like a sweater philosopher knitting my first sweater. Here's what I did though. I bought the yarn to make another one of these. I spent the last weekend with Lizzie from Lizzie's Literary Life, and we went yarn shopping. And I got the yarn for this sweater. I decided, I was overwhelmed in the yarn store. I was looking at all these patterns, but what I decided was that I really like this sweater. I like knitting it, and I want another one. Even though I haven't even worn this one yet, there's things about the construction that I really like, and I've had a good time doing it, and I have ideas about ways that I want to slightly adjust the pattern to just make it a little bit different. And so I got yarn to make another one, different enough that it'll be like a different sweater. But I got 4 colors. I got 4 hanks of a main color that's like a navy blue, and then the vision is that I have 3 other hanks in different colors, and those are going to be like an accent, like just a solid stripe across the whole thing. And then I'll go back to the navy, and then I'll do a stripe of the next one. So there will be 3 bright stripes all the way around the body and the sleeves, and I think that will be really cute. And they're like springy colors, like a light green and like a light yellow and like a pinky color. So it's going to be a very different vibe, at least I hope, from the sweater that I'm making now. But yeah, I just wanted to say that that's how much I like this pattern. I did look at a bunch of other sweater patterns, but I was kind of like, I really like the raglan detail on this one. I think I really like it. So yeah, I don't know. It's pretty much like a kind of a basic sweater, but it'll be fun to add stripes. And anyway, I feel like that was all the updates I had to give. I started this sweater, I think, on election night. And tonight's inauguration night. So we've really been through it, me and this sweater, and I can't wait to be done with it. Not in a bad way, in an excited way. Like, I'm excited to meet her, you know? So I'm gonna go back to my DPNs, which are, I'm extremely frustrated, to be honest, but this is slow work. Knitting is not something, you know, being a fast knitter is not really the point. The point is, first of all, handmade garments are important to me and thrilling to me. So that's one, is the idea is to have a handmade garment at the end of this. But the other is that this is a slow meditative practice. This is something that is calming to me, ideally. And, you know, stitch by stitch, you slowly sort of put something together, and it's beautiful at the end. But the process, I'm trying to really enjoy the process, because I think that's very important in these trying times and with crafts like this. Art, work such as this, okay? I don't know if that's everything that I said in the first version of this, but that's plenty. Okay, my package came from which I ordered the shorties. So this is the box, okay? This is all I ordered. Incredible. Okay, I need to insert here from the future because I never explained what happened with the needles. I just got so sick of the double pointed needles. I made it like halfway down the sleeve, and I was just not wanting to pick up the project because I was so annoyed by how much maneuvering I was having to do with those DPNs. So I'm not gonna never use them again, but I do think I would prefer wooden ones to the metal ones. I just found the metal ones to be like cold and slippery. And so I ordered the shorties, which I talked about like not wanting to get those earlier, but I did get them and they were wonderful and everything went much more smoothly. Okay, sweater update. I am so glad I bought these needles, let me just say, because it's a joy to knit again. I can't believe how long I suffered with the DPNs. Never going back. I love these shorties. I love knitting, okay? And here's where we are. I mean, you know, the hem, she's been done. This is where the sleeve is. I just finished the last of the decreases. So there is a slight decrease, even though it doesn't look like it. And now I'm just gonna check the measurement to see how long I want the sleeves, because I know that I want to make sure that I want the sleeves to be short. And I don't know how this is gonna block out. So I'm gonna err on the side of too short because yeah, I want the sleeves to I don't ever want my, you know, my hands to be, this is not a big cozy sweater. This is like, I can still use my hands sweater. So I'm supposed to do, I think, the pattern says 34 centimeters from the armpit, which is this row here. So let's see what that looks like. Here's, okay, here's 38 centimeters. But if we go from here, and then we just kind of do this, we're at 26. So it'll go to about here. I flipped this around. 26. Why am I doing this? To 34 seems like then when I do the ribbing, it'll be slightly too long. I'm gonna go to 32. which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 more centimeters. So I'm gonna just see how many rows are in 6 centimeters, like up here, and then I'll just count that many rows. And then I'm gonna do the ribbing and I'm gonna count how many rows this is, and it's gonna be the same. Okay? I feel like I might finish this sleeve tomorrow during my knitting club. Okay, it's done. I mean, it's done. It's done. I feel like I stopped updating about this, but sorry. It's February 10th, and I just finished my second sleeve. So, pre-blocking. Here it is. Last night, I had it out on the couch because I've been working on it, and then I switched locations, and Connor was like, Ruby, this sweater you're making, like, it's not just like a pile of, it's not just you're knitting anymore. It's like, this is a garment. It's a piece of fabric. And I was like, yeah, it is. Okay, so yeah, I finished it today. I had a bunch of lectures to watch, and so I was knitting while I did that. And during my meeting this morning for work. But nobody seemed to mind, okay? I'm wearing my sweater that I made. Need to do the little sleeve shake. Okay, wait, I need to, hold on. Okay, I'm trying to show you the pre-blocked vision where I'm not just like so backlit, but it's hard. So here's my sweater before blocking. I honestly, like, it looks so good already. I think just what I'm concerned, it's just like the sleeves are not, so the ribbing is in the wrong side. I'm just so impressed. I think like it looks good. The only thing still is just that the neck, it's just a little bit tighter than I want, but I'm so excited. I can't wait to get it all wet and then dry it.
Well, thanks. How about yourself?
Ta-da! So here it is after blocking. Main changes, just that it just feels a little bit drapier. The collar has stretched out a bit, which feels good. And the German short row turnarounds are a little bit less noticeable. But yeah, just like the waist is a bit more chill. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. The sleeves are longer than I wanted. They're not like too long, but I did want them to be like more like this. But I think because of the size of the ribs, this is actually better. So, thanks for joining me here on my sweater vlog. Can't wait to make another one. Okay, bye.